Probably because then your story becomes more real, and you don't have to go off of what the history books in America say. Because the books that I teach from, the history books that I teach from, I can only speak from my history books. It starts out on a slave ship. That's where our history starts. And it's so disconnected. It's so interesting how they designed this book. Out of 30-something chapters, you have the slave trade, which I call the slave war. You have that, and then chapters later, then you have the kingdoms of Africa. So you see how they keep them separate by chapters. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even make that connection. And then even before that, like that may have been chapter 12 with the slave war. And then maybe chapter 21 is the kingdoms of Africa. But way back in chapter 3 is Egypt.
Hey everybody, we're back again, coming to you from Accra, Ghana, and I'm here talking to Renee and Jeff, and they have been, I think, two of the most hilarious people on our tour here, and they're going to share, really interesting parts of their journey to getting here in Ghana, but then also a lot of what they've learned. So I want to thank you for joining me on this tour, but then also for being willing to share your story. So let's dive into this. Why Ghana?
Probably because that was the first country that the opportunity was available.
Really?
Yeah.
So the first country.
Yeah.
And in your entire life, the first country that was available. So now that even leads to, because other people, they get to go to London, Ireland, Italy, France, Germany, I could go on, Belgium. But for someone who was of African descent, this was the first time. So Ghana came up. Why now? Why did you decide to go now? Although it was the first time, but a lot of people put it off. Why did you decide to go?
I think mostly after I did my African ancestry. Well, actually, my regular ancestry first. I think that made the difference. But when I did my African ancestry, that was more impactful to getting to the continent. Mm-hmm. But it was not like something where I was like, oh, I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Africa. Until I found out about the year of return in 2019. And I found out about it in 2020. So I was already a year behind. So I was too late.
So you missed it.
I missed it.
Day late and a dollar short.
Ah.
I missed it. So when I saw the video of them going, because we were all sitting down from COVID. I don't do a lot of computer work. I don't look on the computer a lot. So I just happened to be watching. Right. I was on the computer and I saw this video, year return. I'm like, what? Where? Everybody went to Africa. What is going on? Why wasn't I invited?
Everybody went.
And when did they go? And I didn't get the memo. So I was watching the video, and then your video popped up.
The Ghana Chronicles.
It popped up. And so I watched that and I'm like, I'm going to Africa.
Isn't that, so the Ghana Chronicles, and I actually recorded that in early 2019, after my first trip to Africa, which was in Ghana, was in November 2018. And I said, I have to tell people, but I didn't know how this video was going. I just knew, let me put my heart into this video. 23 minutes long, 23 minutes and 40 seconds, I think, for the original one. So I remember the edits on it. But it's like, to now see how it's influenced people to come. We had a group that came before and they saw it. So now you saw it and you're here. So tell me, you're an educator. Because some people just say, I want to go to Africa. But I've watched you with your camera. I watched you moving around. tell me why you think it's important for people to visit somewhere on the continent. Why do you think that's so important?
Probably because then your story becomes more real, and you don't have to go off of what the history books in America say. Because the books that I teach from, the history books that I teach from, I can only speak from my history books.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out on a slave ship. That's where our history starts, and it's so disconnected. It's so interesting how they designed this book. Out of 30-something chapters, you have the slave trade, which I call the slave war. You have that, and then chapters later, then you have the kingdoms of Africa. So you see how they keep them separate by chapters. You know what I'm saying? So you don't even make that connection. And then even before that, like that may have been chapter 12 with the slave war. And then maybe chapter 21 is the kingdoms of Africa. But way back in chapter 3 is Egypt. That's how separate they have them.
So they don't even connect Songhai with Egypt, with Zimbabwe, with Ghana, with the Gambi people. No. So you're not even thinking
you won't even connect
that these people, when they come to slavery, that they're descendants of.
You won't even make.
So you don't think that, because when you hear about the Songhai Empire and you hear about Mansa Musa and all of the wealth and power
and all that, you won't even connect it. You won't connect it. And I didn't connect it. I did not connect it until I did my African ancestry.
And that's when, so in African ancestry, shout out to Dr. Gina Page.
Yes,
and the entire African ancestry family.
Dr. Kittles, yes.
That's right. who they're leading a movement too.
Yes.
Because so many people are traveling and researching and learning about their ancestry by way of African ancestry. And not just like 23andMe and Ancestry, but African ancestry. And if you want to learn where your tribe comes from, or tribes, because we'll be descendants of multiple tribes, it's important to check them out. So shout out to everyone at African Ancestry. Now Jeff, you're here. And in the Ghana Chronicles, you notice how I said that, right? In the Ghana Chronicles, I talked about how I wanted to, it was important for my brothers to come and see the continent. So when you came along, because we do discovery calls and everything, and when I talked to them on a discovery call, Jeff was like, hey, all right, well, I can get off, I can do what I need to do, but I'm thinking to myself, oh, come on, bro, you got to come on this journey, man. It's because, tell me, what, other than Renee, what inspired you to come on this journey?
Well, we did the initial ancestry, and from that, I could see, and me being biracial, my father is black and my mother is white, so it was kind of split down the middle, 50-50 from different countries, this, that, and the other, and my black side sure was coming back to the continent, so we did the African ancestry, and then when we discovered the tribes, when we got the information on the tribes, and we was looking on the maps and seeing where the location was and everything, so it was more intriguing. And then when I came home from work one day, and she was like, Jay, she was excited, and she was excited to show me the video and this, that, and the other, and I was like, that sounds good. But she was ready to leave in like a month, and I couldn't do that with my work schedule. It takes me a minute to try and get the time off work. So when things started not lining up for April, and I said, well, if we shoot for June, I can make some things happen by June. And made it happen, and we here.
Yeah, man, I'm glad. Again, when I see my brothers here, there's something special about it, because I think it was four of us total.
Yes.
And that's what, when I came to initially, 0. I didn't see any. And I know other brothers have been here, so I know other brothers on the continent, but I'm just saying, on that first journey, I was like, well, there's a drought. And I said, we got to do something about this. And this group of brothers representing different age brackets.
Yes.
I think we had millennial, we had Gen X, and then we had baby boomers.
Right.
And to see how we all click together, and we're all, there's this joke a man made, he said, all men are basically 14-year-old teenagers. and we discovered
Right,
we
right.
are all no matter from 74
Right, yeah.
to 37.
Yeah.
We were 14 years old and we got around each other, and it was like, and
Right.
Tyrone kept talking about how, man, I found my brothers.
Yeah.
brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So what resonates, or why do you think it's important for brothers to come here? Because you talked about how you're of mixed ethnicity,
Right.
and so you have seen probably both sides.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. Mostly the black side. That's it.
So why do you think it's important for us as brothers to see this?
Well, in everything we do, a lot of times women do take the lead. So
Now be careful.
it's important. It's important for the brothers, if not necessarily take the lead, but be side by side, so you can come and figure your situation out. Because your situation might not be my situation, and your ancestry is not going to be like my ancestry. We're not going to be from the same place, but this was a good starting ground, because my ancestry comes back to Gabon, connected to 4 different tribes. But just to get on the continent for the first time is amazing. So now when we went to the rainforest here, and most of Gabon is rainforest. So now I make that connection, and I realize that this is what I got to look forward to when I go to my actually homeland, where my folks came from.
So that way, and again, like a great introduction, because then you were able to, like, you went to the rainforest, but you don't even realize the things you're going to see, because you wouldn't even think a rainforest would make that type of connection to say,
Right.
you know what, I think I might, when I go to Gabon, now I know
Right.
that to look forward to these rainforests, and I've been in a place that's probably similar
Right.
to what they experience, because since it's in West Africa, similar to what they have in Gabon.
Right.
From a young man's perspective, so let's say young brother maybe in his teenage years, how do you think coming here might benefit him in some capacity?
Well, like my wife was saying, the education is not what it should be on our history. So the younger you are and you can get here and get your feet on the ground and establish that relationship and understanding of what really is going on, and not what they want us to know. They teach us what they want us to know. But when you get to know for yourself, it's going to help you in your development as a young man, coming into a more seasoned man and into an older man. It's going to help you.
How do you feel about, because what I'm seeing, we even have tours where it's multi-generational. So we have baby boomers, Gen X, and they're skipping millennials and they're going to Gen Z because the children are Gen Z.
Right.
How do you think it could benefit a family in because you're having all of those generations, and either one of you can answer this. How do you think a family could benefit from it?
Go ahead, Queen.
I was gonna say it gives you a sense of identity. I mean, honestly, it a sense of belonging. Like, to come here and literally everywhere you walk, you see people that look like you. It is unbelievable. Like, I've been called Ghanaian. I had somebody tell me that I could tell that your ancestry is in Cameroon.
Oh, really?
So when you hear that and you see that, that's so awesome, because you kind of blend in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't stand out. Where we're from, you kind of stand out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you stand out. And I'm okay with standing out sometimes, but it's so good to be around our people.
So much of everywhere you go, you're seeing all of this melanin everywhere.
Oh my goodness. A lot.
Yeah.
Without the drama.
Without the drama.
Yes,
Without the drama.
listen.
Sure.
Break that down. Let's go. Let's go.
Right.
Now y'all unlock something.
Because
Let's go ahead and have this
yeah,
conversation.
because when you think about
Right.
like, that was the one thing that I had put up, was that it's interesting to see how so many of us in one area, This is real.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us in one area getting along. Now we know we have our little arguments and stuff, and of course we don't know the language, so we know you could tell by, we can't hide our emotions and our feelings as a people. And so when we talk, we're animated. We use our hands, we use our facial expression changes, and so you could tell when they're kind of like correcting or chastising each other. You may not understand the language, but you know what they're doing. But it hasn't, that I've seen, or my experience, resulted in somebody getting shot, somebody getting stabbed, somebody fighting. I have not seen that. I've heard a lot of humbling. I've heard younger men even back down and call older men uncle when they were getting corrected, even though they didn't even know them. They gave them that respect and said uncle. I heard a young lady at the desk at the hotel call somebody auntie. You know what I'm saying? These are things that we do even in the States that we don't realize. We may have like a family friend or a friend, like a childhood friend, and we'll call their dad or mom uncle and auntie even though they're not. And you realize where that stuff comes from. And didn't even really realize it, but a lot of things we've, carried on. But that's what I love. I haven't seen road rage come out into like a physical attack or violent attack.
A lot of horn
and
blowing.
It's a lot of horn blowing, but like you said, that might be just to let
but
people know.
A lot of
that
it is just letting you know they're coming.
They're coming, yeah.
Right, and they're coming through because the motos go in between the cars, this, that, and the other, and the traffic is a different animal here.
Yes.
Right.
It's fun to watch.
But they get where they going.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody throwing nothing in nobody's car. Ain't nobody flipping nobody the bird. Even when they do blow at somebody because of the situation, you see a hand go up like my bag, but I had to get through. They take it by force.
Now, to be fair, this is in Ghana.
Yeah, this is in Ghana.
This is in
Ghana.
Ghana, yes.
Now, I'm not going to throw any shade on any other country.
Right.
But I know some countries got some other ones have a little more aggression.
That's
but,
right.
but
we talk about Ghana.
We talk about Ghana because
right.
I thought about that and how we didn't see people jump out.
Right.
Because in America.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And they tell, again, the narrative in America is that everybody in Africa is uncivilized and they're violent and they're going to get you and the warlord's going to take over and part of being someone who grew up in America, told these narratives, had to be honest with myself and say, well, I have not seen some of the things that we do. And you're about to go someplace as far as, I'll go there because I'll take the heat in the comments for this. But it's like you can get all these black people together here and folks not rumbling. They're not fighting and arguing. In the States, you try to get a concert together.
Oh, yeah,
extra security, extra police. Now somebody's about to say, but that's because we went through the traumas in America. They went through the same traumas here. That's the thing. It's like we think we went through trauma differently, but we had the same oppressors. The Ghana is a British colony. They had slave farms here. They had the same. They were being beaten and whipped and
raped.
Everything.
So but I say that not to diminish what we went through.
Right.
But it's to say that our trauma is no different than their trauma, and so it's to see how they tell us that they're uncivilized here. But then you come here and you watch organized chaos with them driving. You're like, how did y'all do that? Not cuss the other one out. I'm sure somebody has cussed somebody out, but you don't see that as the cultural norm. And by no means is that all of us, but I'm just trying to put it in a context so that we understand how we've been misled about each other and how they tell us one thing. Have you felt that anyone here didn't like us?
No.
You
know what I wonder, Jay, too? I'm wondering if the one difference that we do have, I know it's a lot of differences, but the one difference that I believe that we do have is that we were separated from our culture and our identity. Because we're so disconnected, at least even though they went through the same slave trauma, they were in their land. So they still knew who they were. They knew what tribe they came from, they knew their language, they knew everything. We were separated at a point where we didn't know where we came from because they took us as young kids.
Yes.
And so you lose all of that. And I think that's what has caused us to have so much impact with our trauma because we don't have an identity. We've made up an identity, but based off of what other people told us we were. We've been called Negro to colored to African American, whatever name they want to choose to call us. That's what they call us, and
That's
we go
the thing.
ahead on and just accept it. We literally go on and just accept it.
Or we say we're not African.
Yeah, right.
We go to that point.
We go to
I'm
that
saying,
point.
oh no, I'm not African. I'm not African. I'm something else. I'm not
something
African.
else.
I'm not African.
Right. And the thing they're doing now is whether you're Hispanic or non-Hispanic. I was on the phone with a
right, I
lady
saw
the
that.
other day, and they were doing, it was something, and she asked, "Can I ask you your race?" And I said, "Yes, I'm black." And she said, "Well, are you Hispanic or non-Hispanic?" And I said, "I'm black." And she said, "I understand."
She left it alone.
She left it alone. We're going to go to the next question.
Right, because clearly you said
And I forgot to add that color in there, black.
Right.
We done been called everything.
everything.
We done been called everything.
Yeah.
And to your point, which I think was a really, really key point as far as one, why it's so important for us to come back,
Yes.
but for when it comes to trauma. If you know who you are, so in other words, if you know you're Akan, you know you're Ga or Iwe, or you know you're Maasai, or whatever tribe
Right.
it is, and you know your tribal name, because we all have colonized names.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
So even when it comes
First
down
and
to
last.
first and last name, and I'm gonna say this, I'll take the heat in the
That's
comments.
okay.
Unfortunately, we take pride in the colonizer's
Don't
name.
we?
I mean, literally
I know.
take pride. Like yes, and again, we don't know any better
Right.
because these are the systems that we were raised under, and I guess because I never thought about it until you just said it. As far as the difference in the traumas, it's the identity erasure, and then when you come into a place, and then they demonize every part of your identity,
Yes.
and they say
Yes.
that's bad.
Yes.
That's bad.
Right.
And so whether it's black, whether it's African, whether it's
Yes.
Hebrew, whatever it is,
Yes.
that's bad. And so internally, we say that's bad, and then we look at each other
And
and
that's
say that's bad, and then we look in the mirror and we see our natural features. That's bad.
That's bad.
Now that's why we lust after Paris and London, because we want to be that. It's this bad thing in my family, where the first thing they want to do, because we know we have a lot of European in our DNA, but that's the thing. How much European do you have? How much well, we got to find out how much European we have. Versus,
It's so celebrated.
Right.
We so sad.
It's
a
right.
sad situation. It's
And-
really sad.
and I mean, when you
no,
really start breaking it
no.
down.
My name is French. Ironically, my name is French. The two countries that my DNA came up from, Cameroon and Burkina Faso, both colonized by the French.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How ironic is that? And then my last name, Benson, my maternal last name, Benson, that's of course a British name.
Okay.
But then when you think about Ben and Bain and the Hebrew name,
Oh,
that's
so
like Bain
now-
and Bain means
See, now
son.
she about to take it, go to
A whole different level now.
Argon, you hear this, right?
So, I think it's a little bit deeper. See, it's the things that they really didn't want us to know. That's what I believe. But I'm telling you right now, they can't say nothing to me right now. My chest is so stuck out. When you get your identity and find out who you are, and find out that was something that was intentionally taken from you to make you feel lesser than a human, you get that back. Oh
yeah.
It's a, and I know the scripture, pride come before the fall. I get that, but this type of feeling is not an arrogant pride. It's a type of I can't even describe it. I can't even sometimes even, like, you can't say nothing to me right now.
I got it.
You can't say nothing to me right now. I mean, really, honestly, I wear my identity with so much pride now. And even the more that I'm learning about myself and who I am, you know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes it does offend, like you said earlier, it offends people who are not there.
And it'll be people who look like us.
That
Who
get
are not
offended.
there.
Oh, they get real offended.
They're
Those
the
are the ones I'm
ones,
talking about.
That's okay.
They get
Real
real offended.
Right.
So sometimes I just have to just close it up sometime
Really?
when dealing with us, because I don't feel like going through that argument with us. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And mostly, I think the worst part is mostly family sometimes.
So a lot of
Us.
times it's family.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you try to tell people this is who we are. This has been stolen from us, and they're okay with that colonized mindset or the oppressor's name or the oppressors, everything that they gave to us. Everything, you're okay with that.
A lot of people are fine with it.
They fine with it. So I said, you know what?
They're comfortable.
They're very comfortable with
Very
it.
comfortable with
You can
it.
have it.
Yes.
You can have
And
it.
I give them a little bit of grace only because I know I spent much of my life.
There
Comfortable with it
too.
also.
Right.
There too.
Right.
We was all there, but we.
I think back on it. I said, I was there because I remember thinking, oh, those poor people in Africa, we need to go over there and help them. And then you look and you say, they don't need my help.
They don't need none of our. They don't need that damn bit.
They don't need help.
They need to help
That's
us.
what I'm the one who came here.
Right, that narrative of black folks being lazy, that's out the window.
Oh.
These folks
Oh.
here work and hustle from sun up to sundown and after.
But that's one of their slogans. I mean, one of
Right.
their things on their picture, I gotta go get that painted.
Uh-huh.
Is a man that don't work, don't
Don't
eat.
eat.
But we know that's even
Yes,
biblical. We
yes.
know all of this stuff
Right.
tied back. But because
Mhm.
we've been so separated from the Bible,
Mhm.
from the scriptures, from the geography of it, we didn't know. We weren't making no connections.
No connections.
We weren't making. You know what I'm saying?
But a lot
Connections.
of the interpretations were taught by the colonizers.
yeah.
So you
Right.
think how they
Oh,
now
yeah.
break it down
Yeah.
to make you docile, to make you submissive,
Right.
to make you really a labor force. It was like when you start breaking
Yeah.
down the different systems, because in America, the person who came from this part of the world was only designed to be a cheap labor force.
right.
So they would use anything, just like in Angola, when they were taking them over to Brazil, they would use, so in other words, and this was part of what we learned in the dungeons, you had obviously the Catholics, and then that was the Portuguese, and then the Dutch had the Protestant side, and the Catholics would force baptize
Yes.
the Angolans. And so by the time they got to Brazil, they were ready. Then there's this bishop named Peter Claver.
Okay.
And what he would do, Catholic bishop, he would go into the bowels of the ship and to go in and try to help the slaves. And I'm like, you all are the ones
Yeah.
Right.
who started this mess.
Right. Yes.
You all, what are you talking about? They don't need your help, meaning what you're taking to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the distortions and how it had been so, it's like now, even when I hear us and how docile and
Yes.
it's nauseating.
Sad. It is
It's-
nauseating. Yeah. It's very nauseating.
But to your point, and again, I think that when we start to understand the difference, even though many of us lost our identity, and it's different in Brazil because they didn't lose their identity. Portuguese slavery was different from British slavery.
Okay.
Right.
So in Brazil, they'll tell you, I'm from Angola.
Okay.
They have a society.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, Angola. And so they didn't lose their identity the way we did
Right.
in America. And I would even venture to think that even French colonization was different because even the Haitians have much of their
Okay.
original
Yeah.
identity. But if you think about us in America,
Oh,
we
they
don't,
did a job.
in our interpretations of how we think about Africa,
Right.
it's largely been based on television
Yes.
and these books. Again, this is why it's important for you to see for yourself, because
Gotta come.
the
Gotta
stuff
come.
that we saw Roots, we saw, and which was I think it was a good
I think
attempt.
so too.
So I don't,
Yes.
but it's something about when you are in this space. And the reason why I chose Ghana is because you get a good balance. Because we had a good time.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
with the
Oh,
contemporary
yeah.
places.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
It
sure.
wasn't like it wasn't like I took you someplace and you were like,
Yeah.
okay, can you get us out of here quickly? So you, this is too much culture shock.
Right.
I was comfortable.
That's
I
what
was
it said.
comfortable
Yeah.
too.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
And that was the goal, because I mean, everybody has their own experience.
Right.
Some people need to be immersed in the bush.
Right.
Some people don't.
Right.
Some people not ready for the bush.
No, they not.
But
They
you
not.
gotta come and get a little bit of it.
You
Gotta
got
get a
to.
little bit.
You gotta get a
Gotta
little
get
bit
your
of
feet
it.
wet.
In
Just a
order,
little bit.
yeah. So those are things that I think about. But for children,
Mm-hmm.
because you work with children, you have a passion for education, why do you think it's so important for children to come here? Because one thing to read about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I created the children's book
Right.
series and everything. But why do you think it's important for them to come?
Again, because, well, what I can say from starting with my experience, because I didn't even know what to teach my own kids. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know what to teach my own kids. I sent them to an all-black school, and they got a lot of history there. You know what I'm saying? They really did. But I didn't even know what they should have known, because I didn't even have any idea. I didn't know there were different sides of Africa, as far as like west, south, north. I didn't know what that was. I just thought we just came from Africa. That was it.
So basically, like, it was a country.
It was just, it was
in your
one
mind,
thing, right, in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then you find out you're from West Africa. Well, with kids, they're visual, mostly very visual. And so for them, they're longing to find out, where do I come from? Who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are my roots? Where are my history? So when I'm in a classroom and I'm actually like showing them a map, because in my classroom I have a huge map on one wall, just huge. They can get up at any given time and go up and just look at Africa, look at the map, see these different places, and then hearing it from me, doing my DNA with my students, waiting until we got back from winter break to announce the results. You know what I'm saying? Now they're watching, my YouTube channel, they're seeing me out here experiencing it. It makes it more real. And hopefully they will come, because I think that's going to make that connection with them. You know what I'm saying? To feel wanted and to feel important. You know what I'm saying? Like Jeff said, to see young men working, you know what I'm saying? Like hustle mode working, like, not saying that some of our kids don't do that, but
that's not our culture.
it's not our culture.
Right. No.
It's not. It's like give me,
Yeah.
more.
And
And parents feel obligated to give.
give.
Right.
Because of how we do.
I haven't
Right.
seen any kids here with cell phones.
But they got them though. They got them.
I know they got
Yeah.
it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't seen them like
Out.
all day walking around
Right,
like this.
Oh.
Our kids are walking traffic.
Yes.
With that
yes,
cell
with the
phone.
cell phone.
Step
And
right
maybe
on
that's
out there.
maybe that's why they ain't got them, because you walk in this traffic, you ain't.
Oh yeah, this traffic is no mercy. You
You
step
will be
out
a
the street
speed
here,
bump.
it's over.
It's over.
Maybe that's why.
It's a wrap.
But you see them, like, and that's the main thing. Like you said, that sense of entitlement almost. You know what I'm saying? And I think our kids need to experience this. I wish that I would have known this when my kids were younger, because we would have spent every summer here in Africa.
Might be like a rites of passage.
I think so too.
And it's not even feeling sorry for anyone, because
No.
again, it's like I'm thinking about how entitled my children
Oh yeah.
think and feel, and it's like, wow, you might. And this, let me say this. No, it's all of them. I was trying to give one or two a break. I was like, no, it's all of them. It's all four of them.
Right.
But
Right.
it's like I replay how we raised them,
Yeah.
and I'm going back through that, and I'm saying, wow, what would I have done differently? They would have been over
They would
here.
be here. Every
Just
year.
to
Every
be in
year.
the culture learning, because
Every
it's so
year.
much for them to learn. It's like, this is what
Every year.
you can learn something here that you will never get.
No, ever.
yeah,
no,
never.
ever.
And
And
this
they
is-
wouldn't even have to ask where we going this
Yeah.
summer. Africa. They
Yeah,
would
they would've
have.
known.
We would have been. They would have been submerged in the culture here. By the time they graduated from high school, they could have decided what they wanted to do. But
Yeah.
they would have known who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we send them to a predominantly white high school in our hometown, because it's the best high school in our hometown.
Mhm.
It just is what it is.
There's
You
a
know what I'm
resources
saying?
there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we send them to the top elementary and middle school in our hometown. So why would you send them to something less than for high
Right.
school?
You're gonna make them so they can be competitive.
So they can be competitive
Right.
and go get college scholarships. So we send them there, predominantly white, and you would hear kids, or parents, where are you going for, winter break? Oh, we're going skiing in the Alps, or we're going
Right.
to France, or we're going here. You know what I'm saying? And our kids don't have that experience, but it wasn't that they couldn't have it. We just didn't know.
Right.
Because we didn't know where we were like, oh, we're going to Alabama, or we're going to Florida, which we thought was huge, and it was
Right.
huge to a certain degree, but we could have probably spent the same amount of money
And go.
and been over here in
Came
Africa.
to Africa.
The same amount of money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like to go to Disney World is $100 for each person to
get in the park.
to get into the park.
To get into the park.
And that's starting at 2 years old.
And that's to go to Disney.
To go to Disney.
Right.
But think about this, and when you were talking, I thought about this. There's this movement within the Black community now to have our children learn Chinese.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Is it because here?
Mandarin.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So everybody, yes, my child knows Mandarin, but how many of our children know Twi, Swahili?
Right.
We don't even think. Come on, y'all.
Right.
We got. It's like cool. Learn Mandarin. Learn all of that.
Right.
But it's like another colonized language we're picking up, and we're spitting in the face of pick a language. I mean, there are thousands of languages here on the continent,
Right.
but it's like we don't even think to do it because we're thinking, oh, but where do the Chinese come to get their resources?
Yes.
They come
Here.
somewhere on this continent, whether it's
Right.
Congo, whether it's Uganda, whether it's Cote d'Ivoire. They come here, get the resources, take it back to China, and then sell it right back
To the same place.
But we don't even think about it.
Right.
And hopefully what this will spark is, and I'm not saying don't have the child learn Mandarin,
right.
because hey, learn Mandarin, I'm about to learn some French because all these African French speaking countries.
Right.
Me too.
But it's like it's like you're talking to people who we're all around the same age, and we're all replaying how we raised our children, and we did what we knew to do with what we had. And so we're just saying to parents right now, maybe you have teenage children or even younger children, to consider allowing them to experience this. And they're not going to, it's not going to be this, it may be culture. When my oldest son came here, I thought he was going to have a major culture issue because he likes just junk food all the time. He just eats pizza, and I was like, man, I don't know, you'll get sick. I don't know what's going to happen, because he navigated this thing to the point where he just got back from Egypt by himself. Right. He went and traveled solo because he's preparing now to climb Kilimanjaro.
Right.
But to parents, hopefully you'll hear what we're saying. It's an investment in your child's future, their identity, and you don't have to come from Ghana in order to connect. Just as Jeff was talking about Gabon, West Africa, when you look at West Africa, it's pretty much the same. That's why they came here to get the people, because clearly this is where the wealth is. I don't even say was, that's where it is. And so all along, from Senegal down through Cameroon and Gabon and Angola, all of that's related, from the gold to the cocoa, the diamonds to the rubber, to the bauxite, to all of that is happening here. They talk about poverty, but this is really a very rich place.
Yes.
When we talk about the richness of this part of the world, what do you think about when you think about whether it's people wealth, material wealth? What kind of resonates when I mention the wealth of this area?
For me, anger.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm
I didn't expect that one.
Right.
angry.
We see the wealth getting stripped.
Yeah, and I'm
And not
angry.
getting put back.
And I'm angry because it's not respected. You know what I'm saying? It's not respected. Like, these resources were placed here for the people that were placed here. You know what I'm saying? For their benefit. And then you take it out and use it for your own benefit and give them pennies back for it. But they did the same thing with the people, because the people are resources. We were wealth. They didn't go in and grab some raggedy people that wasn't worth nothing. They grabbed
Skills.
Yes.
Skilled people.
Skilled people.
They still do.
Strong people.
Yeah.
People that came from strong genes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they knew who they were grabbing. They could have grabbed anybody else in the world. But look who they grabbed. And that's something you think about
when you think about the capitalism of it all, and it's like we will be quick. Now, this is what we do, and oftentimes, and not everybody, of course, but in America, we will want to talk about how brilliant we are. And we are. We are very brilliant people. But at the same time, we want to deny where the brilliance comes from.
Right.
or we talk about it and we have no desire to want to visit it. You know, we'll talk about how when Donald Trump called this part of the world S-hole countries.
Right.
He said that, and we were all, oh, he's a racist, but many of us think the same way about this part of the world. We won't want to visit.
Because you're not coming.
Yeah, not coming.
Right.
And wrestle, and it's like we wrestle in our minds about whether or not we should come. Should I go? What are you thinking? And we talk to people, and if that's the problem. We start talking to people,
discourage them,
and then they turn around and I guess, like Isaac said when I talked to him, he said, I kept this to myself until about the week before. He was all in at that point.
Right.
He could have walked away.
Right. Yeah. He was all in. Then I'm going.
He could have walked away.
Going.
But then you think about the people. It's like once you make up in your mind to go.
Right.
You consult with.
I got comments like that too.
Oh yeah, a whole bunch.
So what are some of the comments?
Why are you going there? Be safe. They gonna get me. What? Don't nobody want y'all. When y'all come over here and see.
Too much going on. They're too busy hustling.
Exactly. When y'all come over here,
you.
Listen. When you come over here and get that natural sun, y'all listen. You won't be taking no vitamin D tablets, no vitamin D spray. You will be just sitting out in that sun.
Good.
Jeff, you didn't even burn. You know how you usually burn?
Yeah, I burn in the States.
I mean,
the sun is different over here. It's nice.
I mean, it's the same sun. Look, it's the same sun,
but it's coming down different over
it
this side.
Is.
Believe that.
It hits you a different way.
It hits you in a different way. I mean, like, so you think about that, those comments.
Right.
That's been
Ain't that
like
a third world country?
Right.
No.
The third world country. That was a good one. That was
People don't even know where that's coming from. They don't even know what third world is.
Right. That's what they was taught, and it just stuck with them.
But then, like Jay said, you know, we got our kids out here picking up Mandarin. You know, those languages like that.
Right.
But that's because they don't want to learn Twi. They don't want to learn, you know, Swahili. They don't want to. But that's because anything that connects with the continent is always considered bad or negative. You know what I'm saying? And so we've internalized that anything like, listen, y'all, our black women, our black men are handsome too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm speaking to the black women right now, okay? So our black women, we bad over here, y'all. I'm telling y'all, listen, the sisters is bad over here.
Well, I tell the fellas. I tell the fellas.
Sisters is bad. I said, this is where we get our shapes from. I mean, listen,
even the mannequins are shaped different.
Yeah. The mannequins is bolted.
So when you think about it, like, and I'm walking around, I'm going,
because they can't show the outfits in that other mannequin. No, they got them these mannequins is Coke bottle.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, here we were told that everything about us was negative. Our lips, our hair, our noses, our shapes, you know, our big behinds, you know, everything like that is so sad. But then other people go out that don't have melanin, go out and inject their lips. With toxins. Right. Inject their behinds or wear padding or whatever.
Trying to get it worked out.
The padded drugs.
You see some people now trying to get the coarser hair, but we were told our hair was, you know, nappy or, you know what I'm saying? Like we shouldn't have been confident, so we were putting, you know, what they call a creamy crack.
Yeah.
Right. You know, perms in our hair and things like that, and
not bleaching the skin.
Or bleaching the
skin. That's the situation.
They bleaching the skin.
They have that going on over here.
And that's sad. Right. Keep your beautiful black skin, my sisters. I mean,
and they got bad weaves over here too. Bad weaves.
Oh yeah. Just do your hair.
I'm just telling the truth. I'm not throwing shade on. I'm just saying some people got some bad weaves over here.
Yeah.
And they got bad weaves in America too.
We do got some bad weaves.
Bad weaves. I mean, if you do the weave, do it right. But it's okay to be
natural and be you. Be you. It don't matter what's on the TV and stuff. We were created by the Creator in a way that was conducive for the land that He placed us on. Our hair protects our skull from that heat.
Yes. Because it will cook you out. It'll cook you.
You know what I'm saying? So we got this hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got so many things that were created in us to be a protection. And the very things that we want to get away from and be like somebody else. We got to stop wanting to be like other people.
Stuff we should be cherishing.
We should be cherishing.
This wild wealth. It's like they've turned us. And it's not. It's not. When I say it's not our fault, meaning we couldn't have controlled how we were taught.
Right.
But now that we're knowing and learning and doing better, we can control the things that we allow into our eyes and ears and all of that. But when I think about the generation that came before us, it's the 2 generations. I knew 3 generations before I even think about my great grandparents and what they didn't teach.
Right.
I also wonder if they even knew.
If they even knew.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of it they knew. Some
Because
things
they were
were just
educated differently.
and some things were just naturally in them. Like we know with the Black Eyed Peas, we know certain
Oh,
things
yeah,
were just
yeah.
passed down. Some things you just can't take away. I was
Yeah.
talking to the gentleman downstairs, and he was standing there when the music was going. And both of them started doing this, and they didn't see me watching them. So I looked over at him, and I was doing this too. And so he goes, so I said, right? I told him, I said, y'all, it's in us. I said, how do y'all sit here all day and not be out there dancing, in your work
Because got
clothes?
the beat going right behind us right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's very hard. They said it was very hard. And I said, I understand that. I said, when I teach at the school that I teach at, when I put on music, I let my kids get up and dance.
There you go.
I let them get up and dance because that's who we are. I have drums in my classroom. I let them beat on the drums. That's how we are. I let them sing. That's who we are. That is in us. Some things you cannot take out of us, and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. It's certain things that is just naturally in us. So when you get over here and you see your brothers and your sisters and they
move right
dancing
now.
and the beat
Right.
going,
They
you know what I'm
go.
saying? Like we
Right.
be getting it
They
over here.
doing
So
it right
I
now.
love it. Yeah. It's so today we're gonna get to see a reception.
I
Just a
was
little
gonna
bit of
say,
reception.
because we're here out there right now. They're you can probably hear a little bit of that in the background, and they party. I mean, between Accra and Abidjan,
Yeah.
they get down. And I tell people that when you start, it's like when you get here. And of course, if you have the right person leading you
Yes,
through this,
yeah.
because each
Yeah.
experience is different. You
Right,
can have, I've been on several different kinds of experiences, which were all great. There were different kinds of experiences. But that's what you want to make sure that you do, that when you come to a place like this, try not to go, you don't want to come to Africa on the cheap.
No.
And because if you come to Africa on the cheap, then you want to get exactly what you pay for.
Yeah, cheap.
And you're gonna be mad.
Right.
You're gonna be mad. I promise you, you'll go back home and not having a good time because you brought that mentality that we've been conditioned with to a completely different country. 5,000 miles away. For some people, it's 8,000 miles away.
Right.
And you're coming into this place and you're not willing to invest in your comfort or the quality of your experience, and that is going to show. And not that you have to spend your life savings or whatever, but to spend a few dollars to make sure that you are going to have a good time, because you want to be able to, especially for an introductory trip, you want to be able to balance it all out. So then when you come back, you can explore even more, and you can say, okay, you know what, I want to try that. Like one of the things that we do is we create appetizers. This is like an appetizer trip. I mean, you all could probably tell it better than I could.
Right.
Well, kind of segueing to that, how do you feel your trip went?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, like we were just talking about, don't come on the cheap. You get what you pay for. So we had looked at different tours, and there was this tour for this price, and like that was a good deal. But I don't think it would have been a good experience looking back now, because we had such a good time and we touched different aspects of things. We went to where the food was comfortable, where we were familiar with this food and we could eat good. But we also went to the food here that was just as good, and we ate and it wasn't any problem. So it was, the whole thing was just, it was fantastic, and it was just we opened the door. Now we'll be back.
Man, now they can go and do that thing now.
Yeah, because we got multiple people wanting to come now, and wanted to come. They just wanted to see us get out there, jump out there. We like.
We're the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
we
you know what I'm saying? Like, we just out there.
there.
But now Jeff might have looked at other tours. I didn't.
Okay.
So let me say that right now. Okay, let's
Well,
get that straight.
The deal. See, if you
Right
heard
now.
what he said, he looked at the deal. He said,
Yeah,
"That's
he
okay.
might have
This
looked
is
at
the
other
deal.
stuff.
This is
I
the
already
deal."
told him what I was doing. I already said where I'm going, who I'm going with, because I felt comfortable just watching your first video by myself. The first discovery call, it was just you and I.
Right.
So, that gift of discernment kicked in. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt very comfortable by myself, because at first I was coming by myself in April. So
Yeah, I wasn't invited.
No,
I
he wasn't. We taught online all year. I was gonna come and bring my laptop and my history books and teach from over here. That was my whole goal.
That was the goal.
That was the goal.
Right.
I was gonna stay until, whenever, like summers or
Because you
whatever.
had planned on staying
I was gonna
through
stay-
the whole
Stay
summer.
for the whole summer, but I was gonna come in April, but it didn't line up, and so I let him come. And so,
She
but
let you come.
I was able to come.
You are allowed.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm glad he did
right.
come,
Yeah.
because
I
I
was
think
able to participate.
You
because to come,
you were granted permission.
what?
Right.
Because if I would to have to come back and try to tell you like all the stuff that
Yeah,
we did,
yeah.
that
I'm
would be,
glad you
that would
made
be
it.
too much.
Right.
Because when he jumped on the call,
Yeah.
I was like, my brother.
Yeah.
I was like, look, come in June because I wanted you to come
Yeah.
have
Right.
the experience, because my whole thing was brothers coming
Yeah.
and having this experience, and I knew the group that we had was going to be, and I think I mentioned that. I said, this is really going to be a good group.
Yeah.
This is a good. And that's why I do discovery calls, so I know
Right.
who's coming. I said, this is going to be a good group. I said, I know it, and
It was a
And
great group.
The whole time when we're preparing, I kept saying to her, I said, listen, it's going to be somebody on here that we know. I just had that feeling. And it wasn't, but it was. The Tyrone and Dolores, that's the first thing Tyrone said. He said, I told my son, he said, I looked at y'all and I was like, that's how we look. Because he assimilated everything with us. Their relationship to our relationship. Dolores get on him like Renee get on me. And he was it was real familiar. So we came together on that the whole thing, it just came together. And James was like a big brother.
yeah,
Isaac was like a little brother. Brandy was like a sister.
yeah.
So everything just kind of fell right in line, and it was
It was
great.
real cool. It was real
Yeah.
cool. Plus, you don't want to come to another country just out there. Like, you still got to use some wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And so, Jay had everything mapped out. He's already been on the ground. He has connections here, so we already knew everything was going to be pretty much, smooth. When we got here, though, we came a couple of days early. So we stayed at the Marriott, which is a familiar, franchise. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we said, let's stay here just so we can kind of get a feel for what we're doing. It's right by the airport. And so we stayed behind that compound wall.
That's the
One
colonizer.
day. For one day.
That's the colonizer.
The colonizer, so we stayed behind that wall for
Just
one day.
colonizer.
But when we got from around that wall, it was
Once we
on and
got out.
popping. We don't even want to be behind the wall no more. So, we did that experience, and then once we got to the hotel that Jay had set up for us, we ended up just spending our last 4 days because we're going to be here a couple extra days. So we wanted to get the whole experience and then extra. You know what I'm saying? So it was set up so beautifully. You don't want to come, to me, you don't want to come on the cheap, because you want to have that security of knowing that things are going to be done right and in order. We got the experience from the village to the to like the dungeons, to some nice resorts, to different restaurants of different caliber, like to the more what would you say, like the one we just went to yesterday, upscale to Capital, which was more casual, which reminds me of Mustard Seed back home. I eat there like 3 times a week, so we got some we got a good mixture, I think. And just to do that, if you had to do that on your own, that would be miserable. To me, that would be miserable. And I'm a planner, so when I go on our family trips or vacations, I plan our trip step by step by step. We're going here this day, this right here. That's draining to do that. So we didn't have to do that this time.
No.
We just came, just paid our money and just came. Now the things we did on our own before, even you set that up with, he gave us a little bit more, but you gave us the person.
That's right.
And then he's going to also drive us around our last couple of days here to take us to see some other parts that we want to see. And one
I'm
thing,
gonna see if he'll let me drive.
No, you're not.
I want to get in this traffic and see what I can do.
And you gonna sit in that? You know what? For that, you go into the back seat.
Be ready to shake down. Be ready to shake down.
Right. So ain't no way I'm getting no car with him driving. Not here.
This.
Plus, the connections that you hooked us up with, they were so protective of us.
Yeah, they looked out.
Oh my goodness, they were so protective. Like, I loved it.
Like you were there.
Like that's the first thing he said when we got in the car. He was like, you hold your head up and stick your chest out, you are home.
Right.
He said, you are home. He said, this is your land. You have every right to be here like anybody else is here. And so that makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? So we did. We got out the car and we walked through the mall like we owned the mall. Like we was back at home at Royal Acres Mall.
Old school.
But that's real. But
it's real. You want that.
But that's what people need to understand, because
Right.
Fear is going to be the first
That's
thing.
going to be the first thing.
Am I going to be able to eat? Am I going to be able to sleep?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to?
Yeah.
Are the people going to? Do they like me there? These are walls that we're tearing down. That's what this conversation is doing.
You got to tear them down. You got to tear them down.
And hopefully
You got to go to honeysuckle. So I'll just throw that in.
There it is.
But who Jay is who he is, and I'm very cautious on dealing with certain people anyway. But who you see is who you get. That's who he is, and so he not gonna have you out there just any kind of way. I mean, honestly, we did some awesome things, and he looked out for us too. I mean, even though he's from where we're all from. Because he's already established connections here, he didn't just put us out there anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Just fend for yourself. I done been with people on trips where they be like,
fend for yourself.
Go for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But so it would. I never felt unsafe ever. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? So, don't go on the cheap. You'll be mad, and then you'll go back and
And talk trash about
and
Africa.
stuff. Don't
run
do
it
that.
down. Don't do that. We ain't
Don't
doing
do that.
No,
Yeah.
and that's not what. And unfortunately, I've seen people on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they come here, and the first thing they want to do is talk bad about it. But what happens whenever I see that, I ask myself, how much cultural training have they had? Because they'll feel the emotion of, I got to get out of America.
Yes.
And they leave and they never visit.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they come here, and then they're thinking, well, they should be doing the way that we're doing it, but without realizing that how colonized we have been. So we think our standard is the right standard.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, it's like going into somebody else's house and saying, well, how come you don't do it the way I do it in my house?
That's right.
Like, this is my house. This is how I live here.
Right, that's how I do.
You got to adapt to my situation, but then they hop on YouTube and social media and drag the place through the mud.
Right.
And it's like, you're just like, no, you don't do that. And you were trying to come here on the cheap, and you got what you paid for.
Got what you paid for.
And now you're upset at them because they gave you what you paid for.
Right.
And then you got a bunch of people back in America who are waiting for you to say this. I told you.
Wait for the negative.
I told you this is the
you
case.
not
I
do
told you this is
right.
what. And it's like, and I'm gonna behave because I was about to go somewhere.
Right.
Your behind ain't been nowhere, and you talking trash.
And ain't seen nothing.
But then be the first one to talk about how black and proud they are.
Right.
And how, and then
Right.
and then come Kwanzaa, they Kwanzaa everything up. But they don't want, come on, y'all, we got to do better.
We gotta do better.
Gotta do better.
We gotta do better.
Come on over here and see for yourself.
You gotta see it for you have to see it for yourself. That's the key.
Yeah.
Nobody, even videos, it just there's no words.
You gotta experience
you have to experience
experience
it. And again, no place is perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't come over here looking for perfect.
Right.
Even if I was to be able to get a dual citizenship, I'm not giving up my United States citizenship. Y'all brought me over here, guess what? And I ain't giving up my stuff. So now I figure that one out. But come over here and just experience it for yourself. Don't let somebody discourage you from not coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to see it for yourself. It is beautiful. It's so much fun. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's just chill. It's chill here. It is so chill here. Right. I thought it was chill.
It's chill. I keep coming back. How about this? I have a whole, anytime I've altered my whole life.
Right.
You know, I'm thankful that my family gives me the grace to be able to do this, because they could be like, but everybody's grown now. And so my wife, she's like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is what you need at this phase of your life. But the beautiful part is that when you come and you have this experience, you can share it with your friends and your family.
Yeah.
And they can't take that from you. And really, we're hoping that this conversation is inspiring you to want to see for yourself. And what I can assure you is, if you travel with us, we're going to do our very best to make sure that you have a positive experience that you can share with others. And it's really about us becoming empowered, but not just us, but those of us here on this continent, where we can bring our financial resources to be able to support them on the ground level.
Yes.
I'm not worried about governments and all of that. I mean, everybody, oh, they got corruption over there. America has corruption everywhere.
Yes.
And so I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what can we do to help share the resources where our knowledge goes up, our minds expand, but then we can also provide additional financial resources by way of supporting local businesses, supporting the people by employing them. Those are the things that we can do. And if we do that, that's how we begin to break down these walls of misinformation, the years of abuse. And so you play a part in that. And by you seeing for yourself, you'll know exactly how you fit into the puzzle. So, well, I want to thank the two of you for sharing your story and being willing to share your story with everyone. I mean,
Right.
we never know who this is going to resonate with and when. Continue to educate those babies because they need to know.
Our babies. That's right.
And Jeff, I want to thank you because you want to inspire some other brothers.
Yeah.
Because brothers,
Yeah.
when they see other brothers, then they're like, oh,
Right.
okay, all right, he like me, all right. And the missus can say, hey, check him out. He all right.
Yeah.
He came back.
He came back.
He made it back.
He good.
Yeah.
He came back in one piece.
Yeah.
And you know, that's me being ex-military, and I have friends really all over the United States. So somebody I know is going to see this, and I'm telling you to go, and I'm telling you to go with Jay
Oh wow.
Yeah.
for your first round, because he gonna lay it out for you, so you can return on your own.
Well, I'm not returning on my own. I'm going on Jay's other tour.
Oh, yeah,
just
we
so
gonna-
y'all
yeah.
understand when
We
y'all
got
see the
Tanzania
next
coming up.
video.
Yeah,
Right, when y'all see
yeah.
the
We rolling with Jay.
Plus,
Yeah, when
plus-
I first jumped on the Discovery call after I was officially invited by my wife and got to talk to Jay, and him being from the DC area, I was stationed in DC, and just I could see right away that this ain't no mess. It's gonna be all right, and it was all right.
And I like to hear that because when we put a lot of time and energy to make sure it's all right, and because it was all right for you, it'll be all right for you.
Yes.
And really,
Yes.
it's representing Black excellence. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
I want to make sure we represent Black excellence, and that's how. Because all these other companies, the Chinese got their companies, the Indians have their companies, and the Lebanese have their companies. And my thing is, when I came here and I saw them walking around like they own the place, walking in the malls and owning all the stores in the malls, I said, well, I'm going to come here and I'm going to represent Black excellence. And you can be any ethnicity and come on these tours. So understand that. You're just going to get Black excellence.
Right, when you're here, yeah, you're gonna see what it's all about.
And we're not going to water it down and, well, let's try to make you feel better about such and such. Look, this is what happened, such and such, but come on, roll with it. Let's have a good time. So I don't care where you come from. If you're white in the UK, you can come on and join us. I don't care, but here's the deal. You're going to get an authentic African diaspora experience. And
you're gonna learn something.
And
You
if you're a teacher of European descent and you teach primarily children of African descent, you should be on a tour like this.
Yes.
Because
really
you're doing our children, our babies, a disservice. And if you really care about them, you want to help them establish who they are, find out their identity, their true culture, their true identity, and help them connect to that. So we got to stop this, because I know in a lot of the schools, a lot of teachers, majority are of European descent. In where we're from. I can only speak from where I'm from. And I'm from a pretty decent sized city. And so, but we have majority Black students in the classrooms. And we got to do better. We got to do better. And like Jay said, we can't water stuff down. The history is the history. We got to tell the truth. And that's how you begin to heal, by telling the truth. Because you don't want them to be like how we were, get older and then start finding out some things. And then that makes you more angry than if you would have just found out earlier and been able to process it through life and been able to reconnect back with who you are. It would help you with your own self-esteem and self-identity. So we got to do better. We got to do better. We have to do better.
And that's coming from the master teacher.
You know what? Don't say that. So like Jay always say, when you do come, leave America in
America.
In America.
And pack your patience.
Pack your patience. See, y'all going down. Y'all running
Pack your patience.
Right.
You know what, Jay? I got one more to add for you too. You got you got to bring your negotiation skills.
Yes.
You got to bring
Yes.
them. You got to be ready. It's fun, but you got to bring it.
Everything is negotiable. Every price.
And they say that now too.
Everything
It's
is
negotiable.
It's negotiable. What do you want to pay?
Right.
What do you want to pay? I like to hear that.
Why are you overcharging me? Everything is negotiable. Don't take it personal.
Yes.
Let's work it out.
It's negotiable.
I'll take what you have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
2 for 1.
It's fun. It's fun, y'all. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully you will decide to come.
Well, again, thank you for your heartfelt stories, testimonials. We covered so much territory. Anybody watching this, if you can't sense the sincerity in their heart, then it's I don't know what to say. So anyway, we hope to see you somewhere on the continent of Africa, one of our tours. Of course, you can like and subscribe right here on this channel, but you can also follow us on Instagram at Maximum Impact Travel. You can also go to MaximumImpactTravel.com. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on IG at J Cameron Official, and of course on Facebook, you can follow me, J Cameron. So until next time, we'll see you right here from Maximum Impact Travel.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure.